Hey everybody, Chuck Holton here. I've spent the last 20 years or so reporting from some of the most dangerous places on earth. And I've seen what real oppression looks like. I've looked into the eyes of child soldiers in Congo. I've stood shoulder to shoulder with Armenian Christians as they fled their ancestral homeland in the Nagorno-Karabakh, or what they call Artsakh. And I was on the ground just days after Hamas terrorists slaughtered 1,400 Israelis in their homes on October 7th, 2023. So you'll understand why I have a real problem when the so-called United Nations turns a blind eye to genocide in some places and then unleashes an avalanche of criticism and condemnation in others. That hypocrisy is just a little hard to stomach, if you know what I mean. Let me walk you through it. But first, let's check out the sponsor of today's video, the Wellness Company. You guys ever feel like your brain's just not firing on all cylinders, even though you're eating right and trying to stay active? It might not be stress. It could actually be parasites. I know it sounds wild, but Dr. Alan McDonald's research shows a clear connection between chronic parasitic infections and neurological issues like MS. These little invaders can mess with your nerves, cause inflammation, and lead to that long-term brain fog. And that's why it doesn't hurt to do a full body cleanse at least once every year. And the Wellness Company makes that easy. They got a powerful combo of ivermectin and mebendazole. The real deal, not some sketchy herbal thing. This stuff is medical grade and formulated to wipe out the bad guys while giving your immune system a boost. So just fill out a small intake form on their website and they'll ship you a 3-month supply right to your door. Make America Healthy starts with you. And the Wellness Company is making it simple to access the treatments you need without jumping through a bunch of hoops. So head over to twc.health/hotzone and use code HOTZONE to save $60 and get free shipping. And why not give it a try? All right, let's get back to today's video. After Hamas, an internationally recognized terrorist organization, launched a surprise attack that saw babies beheaded, families burned alive, and civilians dragged into Gaza as hostages, Israel did what you would expect any sovereign nation to do. They fought back. And yet, within just weeks of Israel's response, the United Nations held an emergency special session, not to condemn Hamas, not to demand the release of the hostages, but to lecture Israel. The General Assembly passed a resolution calling for an immediate humanitarian truce. But the real kicker in that is that it never mentioned Hamas. The amendment that would have condemned October 7th attacks failed to pass because the UN couldn't muster the votes. Just let that sink in. The worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, and the international body founded in the aftermath of that Holocaust refused to name the killers. Compare that to how the UN reacted to Azerbaijan's military assault on Artsakh in September 2023. Within just days, more than 100,000 Armenians, an entire ethnic population, was driven from a region they called home for millennia, which was just a textbook case of ethnic cleansing. And how the United Nations respond? Well, they expressed concern. That's it. No emergency session, no global outcry, no calls for sanctions, no high-profile statements from the Secretary General, certainly no accusations of genocide. Why? Well, because apparently when Israel defends itself against terrorists, that's a crime. But when a dictator-backed regime erases an entire people group, that barely warrants a press release. Same thing happened in Ethiopia. More than 300,000 people have been killed there in sectarian violence, and it's barely a footnote in the annals of the UN's meetings. Same thing in Sudan, in Syria. There's lots of places. Let's talk numbers. Between 2015 and 2022, the UN General Assembly passed 140 resolutions condemning countries around the world. And guess what? 72 of them were aimed at just one country, Israel. The rest, 68, they targeted every other country on earth. Russia, despite invading Ukraine unjustly, bombing civilian infrastructure, committing thousands of documented war crimes. Russia has faced just 6 condemnations in that same time frame. Same with North Korea, only 6. Iran's had 5. China, 0. But Israel, the only functioning democracy in the Middle East, more than 70? Really? And at the UN Human Rights Council, it gets worse. Israel's the only country with a permanent agenda item dedicated to it. Every session, every time, condemn Israel. It's baked in. So here's the question. Why is the Jewish state treated differently? Why does the international body that was founded in part to ensure never again now spend the majority of its time and resources shaming the very nation that was created to ensure Jewish survival? I don't know the answer to that question other than they just hate Israel. But here's where it gets personal. You and I are paying for all this. The United States alone, if you're a U.S. citizen, we're the single largest contributor to the United Nations, giving about $12 billion a year to support that bloated bureaucracy. That's your money, my money, funding an organization that cheers for terrorists and lectures the victims. An organization where Hamas, yes, Hamas, publicly gets to praise General Assembly resolutions because they won't condemn Hamas, but do condemn Israel. And for Israel, that's just a disgrace. An organization that rushed to condemn Israel for defending itself while quietly allowing Azerbaijan and Ethiopia and other countries to erase hundreds of thousands of people, ethnic Armenians, Christians, and others, all around the world, without so much as a slap on the wrist or a press release. Now look, I've seen too much in this world to believe in fairy tales. The UN isn't what it pretends to be. It's just not. It's not a neutral peacemaker. It's not a voice for the voiceless. It's become a bloated, toothless, politicized circus. And when it comes to Israel, the bias isn't just real, it's institutional. It's baked in. So maybe it's time we stop calling it the United Nations. Maybe we should call it what it really is, the useless nations or the United for Nothing Assembly. Because if it can't stand up for truth, and if it won't call evil by its name, what exactly are we funding anyway? That's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Chuck Holton. If you want to support my work, go to www.chuckholton.com and subscribe, and you'll get lots of extra content. We're putting a lot of work into that. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit like on this video. My work is focused on telling the truth even when the rest of the world won't. And if you like that, then please support us. Thanks for watching.